We have a wildlife hospital in Coldwater. We take in injured and orphaned birds and reptiles, and we try to nurse them back to health and put them back out into the wild where they belong. Now this year alone, we've taken in over 650 patients. That's a lot of patients. Sometimes we don't have enough of our own patients to take care of our patients. We also do education. Programs like we're doing today, displays like we have down the hill. That's very important for us because we feel that if we can connect with the local community and inspire you guys and teach you how to help take care of the native wildlife, how to prevent some of the reasons that we get wildlife in our hospital in the first place, that we're making an even bigger impact than just caring for those animals that come to us. And then the other thing we do is conservation. We currently maintain over 180 acres of property in DeSoto and Tate County in 2 locations. One's in Hernando, we call it our ARC Trails. It's a 150-acre location with 2 miles of hiking trails. And we also have an education pavilion. We do a lot of our education programs out there. And then we have another 30-acre property in Senatobia, which is just next to the community college down there, if you're familiar with it. We call that our Virginia Trails because it was donated by the Wilson family in honor of their past matriarch, Virginia Wilson. There's a mile of hiking trails out there. So not only is that natural habitat for this wildlife to live in, but it's a great place for you guys in the local community to go and connect with nature. All right? So, like I said, we are a rehabilitation organization. We take in injured birds and wildlife with the goal of rehabbing them and putting them back out into the wild. However, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes we get in animals that for one reason or another, their injuries prevent them from being released into the wild. And this is an example of that. Penny here has Mockney. Mockney is a red-shouldered hawk. Red-shouldered hawks are one of the common species of hawks that you'll find around here. They're the second largest species next to the red-tailed hawk. Now, red-shouldered hawks are very vocal. If you've ever been out in the wild and you hear hawks calling back and forth to each other, more than likely it could be some red-shouldered hawks. His name Mockney actually means talking bird in the Native American tongue, and sometimes he'll even serenade us with a little bit of chatter over there, although I'm probably going to be louder than he is today. Now the reason we have him, if you guys can see when he turns his head, is he's missing his right eye. When he was a young bird in the nest, it was attacked by crows, and they took his right eye. Now the crows weren't really being mean. They were probably just protecting their own nest somewhere else where an adult red-shouldered hawk would easily eat a baby crow or even an adult crow. But because he's missing his eye, he cannot survive and see well enough to hunt on his own in the wild. You see, Mockney is in a group of birds that we call raptors. Raptors are birds of prey that includes hawks, eagles, owls, and falcons. And all raptors have a few things in common. One of them is their eyes. They have amazing eyesight. They can see about 100 times better than we can. To put that into perspective, imagine you're standing on the end of a football field, and your friend is standing on the other end, and they're holding up their phone and they're showing you a text message or a Facebook post or something like that. If you were a raptor and had eyesight like a raptor, you'd be able to read that. Now, of course, Mockney doesn't read, but that's how well he can see, and they rely on that to spot their food in the wild. And I also want you to notice his beak. And I've got an example of a skull here. I'll come a little bit closer to you. But look at that sharp, hooked beak. What do you think a sharp, hooked beak would be good for? Y'all want to answer? What would a sharp, hooked beak be good for? Would this be good for eating salad? Or an apple? No, this is made for ripping and tearing meat. Because raptors are birds of prey. They're carnivores. They have to catch other food to eat it. So they have these sharp hooked beaks that allow them to rip and tear their food. Hello. Now all raptors also have really powerful wings. This is a wing from a red-tailed hawk. You ever see, in fact, we just had an eagle fly over above us. It's another raptor. They'll soar up high on these really powerful wings, and then they'll tuck them and swoop down to catch their food. All right? And this is what really makes a raptor a raptor. Now you'll notice Miss Penny is wearing a very big leather glove there. That's to protect her hand from these. Pound for pound, raptors have one of the strongest grips in all of the animal kingdom. Not only that, but at the end of their toes, fish hooks, or what we call talons. Now when a raptor spots their prey using those great eyes, and they use those powerful wings to find their food, they'll swoop down and they'll grab onto their prey with these really sharp talons and hold on to it. So that is what makes a raptor a raptor. Excellent eyesight, very sharp beak, powerful wings, and what was the last say? The claws, the raptors. Yeah, in fact, the term raptor, for you word nerds, raptor, the root word of that means to grab and seize. Can you do me a favor? I need that folder.
Where did you get the hawk?
I don't know exactly where he came from. Was he down in Hernando, right? That area?
No, I think he was actually from around this area.
Really?
Oh, okay.
I think so. The falconer actually, or he was wanting to be a falconer at the time, found him and rescued him.
Okay.
All right. So, I have another little thing to show you here. Anybody know what I have in my hands? It's an egg. Yes, this is actually an egg replica, but this is a replica of a red-tailed hawk egg. All right. And the reason I show you this egg, and we're kind of way past the season, but you know, birds lay this egg, right, in the spring and the summer, and they'll sit on it and they'll care for it, and then what happens? It hatches, and then you get a little beep, 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 beep. And in bird language, you know what that means?
Feed me.
Feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me. Absolutely. In the spring and summer, we get hundreds of little baby birds. Okay? And baby birds require a lot of care. They have to be fed about every 15 or 20 minutes. Have you guys ever found a baby bird on the ground in the spring or the summer? Anybody? Yeah, raise your hand if you've ever seen a baby bird down on the ground in the spring or summer. All right. Now let me tell you, sometimes those baby birds need your help. But many times they don't. So if you ever see a baby bird down on the ground, you need to ask yourself a few questions. Okay? First of all, is it injured? Is it bleeding? Does its leg go like that when it should go like this? Did you see it get attacked by an animal, maybe a cat or a dog or a wild animal? If the answer to any of those questions is yes, then that bird probably needs to get to a rehabilitator like us, and you'll want to take some actions to do that. You can call our hotline, or there's other rehabilitators that you can do that. The other thing you want to do is ask yourself, what does that bird look like? Is it got very little or no feathers on it? Okay, this is a hatchling bird. It just hatched from its egg. This bird belongs in a nest. Okay? And if you find one of these on the ground, it might have blown out or got knocked out in a storm. The best thing you can actually do for this bird is to get it and try to put it back up in its nest if you can find it. If you can't find that nest, or it's too high for you to get to, you can put it in a little basket. You do want to put it in something that has holes in it that'll drain, like a colander, or take a little bowl and put some holes in it. And you can put some leaves and grass and try to put that really high, because bird parents are excellent at what they do in taking care of their babies. And they're always the best ones to take care of them. So you can put it back up in there. Oh, but wait a minute. If you touch this baby bird, Mom and Daddy aren't going to take care of it because your scent is on it, right? They're gonna not take care of it because they smell you. Y'all ever heard that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's actually a myth. That's not true. Most birds don't smell very well at all. They can smell very little, with the exception of things like vultures and things like that, which have excellent smell. Most birds can't smell, so your scent is not going to keep mama or baby bird. Y'all can join us and have a seat up here. It's not going to not take care of that baby because your scent is on it. So you're safe to go ahead and carefully put it back up into a nest. All right, now, what if you find a baby bird on the ground like this that's got some feathers? It's still pretty small, but it's got most of its feathers around. And this is what we call a fledgling bird. Fledgling birds are baby birds that are learning to fly. All right, so adults, you might have to remember back, and kiddos, it's not too far away for you. When you were first learning to walk, did you just hop up from the ground and start walking on day one? No, what'd you do? You were crawling around, you maybe pulled yourself up from a table, you started off with the wobbly legs, and then eventually you got to going and you were running up and down and all around, right, Mom and Dad? Yeah. So baby birds have to do the same thing. They don't just jump out of the nest and learn to fly. They have to learn, or they don't start flying around. They have to learn. They have to build up their wing muscles. So these fledgling birds, Mom and Dad have actually pushed them out of the nest. They're not able to fly right away, but they're learning to. And Mom and Dad is out there watching. Okay, so if you find a bird like this on the ground, it doesn't mean you should grab it up right away and take it inside. Look, do you see Mom and Dad up there? They're probably watching it. Now, if you have a cat or a dog or something there in your yard, you can take this bird and carefully move it outside of your fence or to an area that might be safer. And again, by touching the bird, Mom and Dad are going to just take care of it as much as they would, because they're not going to be able to smell your scent on it. So every time you see a baby bird, remember to ask yourself those questions. Is it injured? Is it a nestling bird or a hatchling that I need to put back in the nest? Or is it a fledgling bird that I just need to kind of watch until it learns to fly, and then it will fly and fly away? Now, speaking of baby birds, we have another guy to show you here. And I could have told you everybody what you were going to say when you took it out. It's the same reaction. Oh, isn't he cute? This is Hazelnut. And believe it or not, Hazelnut is not a baby bird. He is a full-grown eastern screech owl. One of the 4 types of owls that you'll find around here. And he's obviously the smallest type. He is full-grown. He's not going to get any bigger than this. Now, he came to us as a baby bird. He was found by some young kids on the ground. He didn't have his feathers in yet. He had all the fluff on him, so he wasn't one of those fledglings. He was a hatchling. And those little children took him in and they took care of him. And by care of him, we think he was a lot of snuggling and holding. And when their parent found out, they realized that wasn't the best way to care for a young owl. So they brought him to us. And when they brought him in, we noticed a couple of things. Well, one thing, if it's kind of hard to see in this light, but if you guys visit us at our display, we'll have him out later. You'll notice his right eye is very cloudy. He cannot see out of his right eye. And just like Mockney, because he can't see, he can't be released into the wild. Now, we took him to a vet specialist, an ophthalmologist, or an eye doctor for animals. And he looked at him and he determined that there wasn't an injury that caused this, but he was actually born this way. This is something we call a congenital issue. And because of that, again, he can't survive on his own in the wild. Now, Hazelnut and owls, all owls, are raptors. Okay, so they're going to have that excellent eyesight. They're going to have that sharp-hooked beak. They're going to have those powerful wings, and they're going to have those strong feet with the sharp talons. But owls have some extra special adaptations that are really cool. And these adaptations allow them to hunt when they're awake. Let me ask you guys a question. When are owls awake? During the day or at night? Technically both, but mostly they're at night. Most owls, especially screech owls, are more active at night. Barred owls do tend to be a little more active during the daylight hours, but primarily they are nighttime animals. And nighttime animals are, what do we call those? Y'all know? Nocturnal. They're nocturnal animals. And as nocturnal animals, they have some really cool adaptations that allow them to hunt and survive in the dark. Let me show you the first one here. Now, this is a skull or a replica skull of a great horned owl. Excuse me. Great horned owls are one of the largest owls that we have around here. Imagine a bird that looks similar to hazelnut, but about 10 times bigger. That would be your great horned owl. But when you're looking at this skull, what's one of the first things that you notice about it? It's eye sockets. You guys notice those eye sockets? They are huge. They're absolutely huge. They take up most of its face. If you guys had eyes the size of owls, you'd look like you had saucers in your head. That would allow you to see really well in the dark, because those big eyes allow you to take in a lot of light. But you'd probably get some funny looks when you went to the Walmart to get some groceries, right? But those big eyes allow owls to see in the dark as well as they see in the daylight, so they can spot their prey because of that. Owls have wonderful eyesight, but their hearing is even better. Okay? Owls have some of the best hearing of any animal in the animal kingdom. And that's for a couple of reasons. As you look at hazelnut or you imagine looking at any owl, you'll notice the big circle of feathers around their eyes. Y'all see that? That's called the occipital disc. You don't have to remember that, but think of it like a satellite disc. And it is taking in all of the sound waves and funneling them back to the ears of the owl. You guys can actually do this with your own hands. Everybody take your hands and hold them up like this. And then cup them around your ears, behind your ears, and hold them forward. And you can probably hear me a lot better that way than you could without them, right? So it's doing the same thing. It's funneling that sound back. It's a great way if you're out in nature to listen to wildlife. You can put your head up there and then kind of turn your head. And that's why you'll notice that owls are turning their heads all around, right? So they can hear and see. Now, has anybody ever heard that an owl can turn its head all the way around 360 degrees? Yeah, that's another one of those nature myths. They cannot turn their head all the way around. If they turn their head 360 degrees, they would have to break their neck. And I guarantee you they would not do that more than one time. They can turn their head about 270 degrees. So from about here to here. And the reason they can do that is they have twice as many bones in their neck as most other animals. So we have 7 bones in our neck, which means that they have how many bones? Who can do the math? Yeah. 14. Yeah. See, you always have to do math. 14 bones. It allows them that extra flexibility to turn around. And so that allows them to see and hear. Oh, that's another thing with their eyes. I forgot about that. Their eyes are so big that they're actually fixed into their eye sockets. So they can see really well, but they can't move their eyes. So you guys, look at my finger and follow my finger without moving your head. Just move your eyes. Right and left, up and down. Y'all can do that, right? Owls can't. They have to look right and left and up and down. But they can look all the way or almost all the way around doing that. So here's the coolest thing about owls hearing. They can already hear exceptionally well. Imagine being able to hear a mouse crawling through the leaves from about a football field or more away. That's how well they can hear because of the way that sound is funneled to their ears. But not only that, they can see with their ears. And this is what I mean by that. All right, so first of all, we need a little owl. All right, so we got our big discs of eyes. We've got our eyes in here. All right, an owl's ears are not located on the same side of its head like ours. One ear is a little bit higher, one ear is a little bit lower. All right, and then let's get some prey down here. So let's get a little mouse. All right, so this mouse is scurrying around. It's going to send sound. The sound is going to travel to one ear, and it's going to travel to the other ear. And then if I draw a line right here, what do y'all see? What shape is that? It's a triangle. Owls do something called triangulation. This allows them not only to hear, but because the sound travels to one ear slightly before the other, they can tell the direction that an animal is going, how fast it's going. It's the same thing your phone does. When you guys want to find something today, what do? If you don't know where it is, does anybody know what a map is? Do y'all remember maps? Yeah, we don't use that anymore. So when I wanted to come here this morning, hey Siri, please map me to the park along the river. And here's what happens. There's satellites in space. And you get a signal from a satellite over here, and you get a signal from a satellite over here. And if you draw that triangle from those two different satellites in two different positions, you're going to triangulate. Your phone is going to do some math, and it's going to tell you where you are on the planet. Owls can do that in their head by hearing. Oh, there, Siri's finding me a place to go. So they have amazing eye, ears, and here is the last really cool adaptation about owls. This is a red-tailed hawk feather, or wing. I want you guys to listen. Okay. Everybody be quiet. All right, did y'all hear that? All right. This is the wing of a great horned owl. Did you hear that? No, because owls have the ability to fly without making any sound. Along the leading edge of their feathers, you'll notice that it's split, it's open, like this, like if you spread your fingers apart. It allows the air to pass over the edge of the wing, and it gives them the ability to fly completely silent. You can kind of do that with your own hand. If you hold your hand up, keep your fingers tight together, and wave it by your ear. You hear that? Now spread your fingers and do the same thing. You should not be able to hear that as well. It's the same concept that allows an owl to fly without making any sound. And so they're excellent hunters at night. All right? So I want to share with you guys a little story about an owl. I do need a volunteer, though. All right. You want to be my volunteer? Okay. Actually, I just need you to come and sit. You want to sit right here in this chair. What's your name?
Nathan.
Nathan. All right, Nathan. Have a seat in that chair. And here's what I need you to do. I need you to be a mouse. So basically, I need you to sit there and maybe squeak occasionally. Can you do that? All right. All right. So, guys, I am going to be an owl. All right. Let's say a, I don't know, what kind of owl should I be? Barred owl, great horned owl, screech owl. What do y'all think? Barred owl? Okay, so I'm a barred owl. If you guys have ever been out in nature and you hear the who cooks for you? That's the barred owl. Sounds like who cooks for you, who cooks for you all. It's the second largest owl that we have around here. So I'm a barred owl. I'm sitting up in my tree at night. I'm using my big eyes and excellent vision to scan. I'm listening with my amazing ears, and I hear a little squeak. Dinner. All right, so I'm going to jump from my branch and spread my wings. Now I'm not making a sound because I'm very silent. And I'm flying down. I'm reaching out my talons. Ooh, Nathan, you're in trouble. I'm going to get you. And then all of a sudden, bam! Oh, goodness gracious, what happened? Oh, I'm in so much pain, I can't see. Guys, I was just hit by a car. I was hit by a vehicle. Because Nathan, our mouse here, was next to the road snacking on something. Why would a mouse be next to the road snacking on something?
Like easy food.
What was that? Say that again?
Trash.
Yeah, trash. You know, sometimes people are driving down the road, they might throw something out the window. You know, maybe a candy wrapper or something like that. They don't want that trash in their car, so they're going to toss it out the window. Maybe they're driving down the road and have an epiphany they're going to eat healthy and they throw their McDonald's french fries out the window. Or maybe it's an apple core or banana peel. Those are organic, right? If you put those out in nature, they're going to break down. They're going to become part of the environment. Well, all of that stuff will attract small animals like Nathan the mouse or other animals to the side of the road. And then those are the things that our raptors, our owls, and our hawks and things hunt. And owls and hawks are excellent hunters. They're not terribly bright. You guys saw the owl skull, you saw the big eyes. Do you think there's much room for a brain inside of that skull? There's not. Owls have very tiny brains. You might have heard the old saying, the wise old owl. That's another one of those myths. They're not terribly smart, but they're excellent when they're hunting, and they're very focused and locked in. So when they come across the road there, focused on their little prey, if a car's coming by, and it gets them, they're going to lose that battle every time. Guys, most of the animals we get, or majority of them, come because of car strikes or accidents, things like that. But here's the good news. Y'all can help. Simply by not throwing things out the car windows. Okay? And so we are a small organization. We are mostly volunteer based, but we need help from everybody. So what I'd like to do right now is ask you guys to take an oath to help wildlife. Can you all do that? Adults, can you all do that? I know, we're getting a little bit childish. Okay, so here's what everybody do. Take your hands, put them out in front of you. Like this. Cross your hands. Turn them backwards. Hook your thumbs. And that should give you a nice pair of eagle wings. All right, so hold your eagle wings up, and I want you to repeat after me. This is, I promise.
I promise
Never to throw anything
never to throw
out of my car window while driving.
out of my car window while I'm driving.
And I will politely
And I will politely
share that with my friends
share that with my
and family.
family.
Thank you. All right, guys, I know that seemed kind of silly for some of you, but that can make such a big impact.
Yes.
That can eliminate some of those reasons that we get animals into our care in the first place. So thank you so much for that. I've got one more animal to share with you guys. And we're going to move away from the birds for a minute to the reptiles. All right. So this little guy is a three-toed box turtle. Three-toed box turtles are one of the native turtles that we have around here. Now you guys might notice his shell along the edge is kind of broken up. Okay? And that's because this little guy was chewed on by a dog.
Oh.
And it's a, now box turtles are called box turtles because actually unlike other turtles, their bottom shell has a hinge right here. Most turtles don't have this hinge. It's straight, it's solid. And so when they're threatened, they can pull their arms and their legs and their head all the way in and kind of close up the front of that shell. I don't know if he's going to do it. No, he's very used to being out. So, and that's where they get that name box turtle. And usually they're pretty safe in there. But you notice he got chewed up pretty bad. He came into our care, and we were able to, he's perfectly healthy now, although he's got some scars from it. But here's the problem. Box turtles live in a very small range, about a mile radius maximum. And they really like where they live. So much so that if you take a box turtle out of its home range and you put it in the best box turtle habitat you could find, instinctually it's going to use all of its energy to find its way back to its range, which means it's going to cross roads, streets, yards, other things like that. And because this turtle was chewed on by a big dog, and several other turtles were chewed on by that same big dog, we couldn't release it back into the area where it was. So he now stays with us as an animal ambassador, like Mockney, like Hazelnut, and he's able to come out here and do that. But to meet you guys. But the reason I say that is if you ever see a box turtle out in the wild, please appreciate it. But realize that if you pick that box turtle up and take it home, and let's say you really take great care of it, if you ever release that box turtle, it's going to try to find its own way home, and it could do that in danger. All right. Now the other thing I want to talk about turtles is, has anyone ever seen a turtle cross the road? Yeah, crossing the road. Why do they do that? Prove to the chicken it can be done? Now actually, they're probably, especially in the spring and summer, they're probably going to find a place to lay eggs. If they're female turtles, if they're male turtles, they're actually looking for the girls and things like that. But here's the thing. If you see a turtle walking on the road and you want to help it, I encourage you to do that. But it's very important that you always move a turtle in the direction that it is going. Even if it's just starting to cross the road and it looks like it would be easy to just put it back in the grass over here, turtles are very stubborn. They're very one-directional. So what's going to happen when you drive off and you put the turtle over there? It's going to turn around and go right back the direction that it came. Watch. So, she's going to prove me wrong today, but, so they're going to go right back that same direction. So it's important to move the turtle in the direction, there you go, to move the turtle in the direction that it's going, so it can, once it's off on the other side of the road, then it'll continue whatever reason it's going over there. It's going to continue on that way, and so it won't just cross back over and get hit by the next car that passes you. And again, we get a lot of turtles into our care. Most of the turtles, Teresa, why do we get most of the turtles in?
Because they were in the road.
Because they're hit by cars.
Hit by cars.
Yeah. So you guys can help turtles by doing that.
What's his name?
This is durian. Durian.
Durian. Okay.
Yeah. All right. And that concludes our presentation. If you haven't, or you already have and you want to come visit us again, we're right down the hill. We'd love for you to come, and you can see we've got a couple of other ambassador animals down there. We've got a rat snake. We have a couple of exotic animals. We have some very large cockroaches, which I know everybody's excited to go see. We actually use those as examples of decomposers. And then we also have, I think, a bearded dragon as well. I'm happy to hang out here if you guys have any questions. I'll answer those, but thank y'all for stopping by. And remember, you guys can make a big difference by doing just those simple little things, not throwing stuff out the windows, moving a turtle the direction it's going, and never taking it from the wild and putting it in a new location.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How did you get started doing this?
So I like to tell people from the age that I could run and got my first butterfly net, I got fascinated by wildlife. And my career has taken me through state parks, nature preserves in Florida and Texas. I've worked in a zoo. And I actually joined this organization about a year ago through some mutual contacts. Teresa's one of our volunteers. I don't know if you want to share your story.
I've been here about 2 years, and I've always loved wildlife. My mother was a huge wildlife lover of everything, and my grandfather was a survivalist. So I was always out in the woods, and animals and everything. And I saw the opportunity to come and volunteer, and I haven't looked back. It's the best decision I think I've made in my life. So.
What is the strangest animal that's ever come into your care? The most unusual, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know that. I mean, we get a lot of the same things. So a lot of barred owls, a lot of right now hummingbirds. I mean, we do get the occasional eagle. Eagles are kind of, I mean, they're the same as any other bird. Ultimately, they need the care, but since they are a national symbol, they tend to be higher. I love to share the story. New Year's Eve last year, we got a call about an eagle that was out in a thing. I think Teresa was part of the rescue team. Anyway, our team went out to try to locate this eagle. They found it at the dusk hours, and it kept running from them along the edge of the Coldwater River. And ultimately, it got out to a point over the river where they couldn't access it, and the sun had already gone down. So they made the decision to go home, come back early in the morning as the sun was coming up, to hopefully relocate the eagle. And they were able to do that. And ultimately, they were pursuing the eagle, which couldn't fly, but was still healthy enough to run because it was a wild animal and didn't realize we were trying to help it. It ended up in the Coldwater River. Our wildlife director, who weighs maybe 120 pounds, jumped in the water after this eagle, caught it up. There's a picture of her holding it on our display board down there. We named that Eagle River. It did have some significant injuries to her wing, and she's still actually in care today, with the goal hopefully one day to release her back into the wild. So I don't know if that's an unusual animal, but that's a very interesting story. I love that story though, because it does share the passion of the people that do this, because you don't do it for the money, you don't do it for the great hours, you don't do it for the vacation time or the health care. You do it because you love the animals. And that's something that all of us have in common.
It was a very, very cold night, and we stood like 3.5 hours in the dark, and it was about 30 degrees. And we searched and searched and searched and searched for hours, and finally found her. And that was the best part, I think, for me. It's just the moment that we saw her, it was just like a rush of relief. It was great.
Well, I heard you say an eagle flew over here,
Yeah.
right? I thought I saw the bird, but I didn't know what it was.
Right, right. Yeah, eagles were one of our founders, one of her favorite animals. One of her visions is to have a giant flight cage. I mentioned our Arc Trails facility, the 154-acre property. Our big goal is to build a nature center and a new wildlife hospital there, a place that people can come and actually see what we do, because we don't really have that public space right now. Outside of things like this, you don't really know who we are. But that was her big goal, and we hope to do that one day. Unfortunately, she passed away in April of 2023. And but when we see birds like that in the air, we do kind of think, well, that's her spirit watching over us. There's a story that the day that she passed away, we were on Arkabutla Lake, and there's several eagle nests there, but there was an active eagle nest there with 2 fledgling eagles. And apparently within minutes of her passing, those eagles actually left the nest to fly. So that's kind of a real testimony and monument to her. I personally never met her, but the stories that I have heard about her were just amazing. And she had a passion and a heart for wildlife like no other, who's kind of carried on in our wildlife director today, Stephanie Hogan, the lady that jumped in to get that. She was actually handpicked by Valerie Smith, our founder, to replace or to carry on in her stead. So there's a lot of these stories.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're
This
very
was
welcome.
fabulous.
Thank you. Thank y'all for having us here.
Thank you.
Again. Oh, thank you so much for asking that. Yeah, so we are a 501c nonprofit organization. We are fully supported by private donations. So, if you guys have it in your heart today, you can visit our booth. We have QR codes that you can scan to go online and donate, learn more about our organization through our Facebook page or our webpage. We also, today with our birds, if you want to get a picture of your family or whatever with any of our ambassador raptors, we do ask for just any donation. And we have a little donation box down there. It looks like a big eagle head. We just like to say, hey, feed the eagle. And for any donation, you guys can stand next to our birds. You can't hold them, you can't touch them, but you can stand next to it and we'll take a picture with your cell phone and you can have a memory there. But thank you for asking that question. Yeah, like most pastors on a Sunday morning, I don't like to talk about tithing, but we don't exist about it. Yeah.
I love nature.
All right, thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank y'all.